Good evening, viewers, and welcome to the Price of Fame. Oh, yeah. So, my name is Lunga Tshuka, and I'll be your host. So, the Price of Fame is a podcast where we focus on the real life stories from the journey to success, from the moment of realizations of one's gift or purpose. And in these conversations, we aim to shed the light on the hardships, the sacrifice, and the mindsets that our guests have to overcome to obtain their current position in their career. And these are their stories. Dun, dun. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I have a very, very special guest in the house. A SAMA-nominated singer-songwriter, has been flying the flag on international platforms, has been letting his music go all across the globe, ladies and gentlemen. Also been collaborating with some of our few favorites named as Questa and Sketchy Bongo, to name a few. You probably recognize him from his very, very first, or one of his first few singles, Elephant Shoes, Elephant Shoes. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the screen the infamous Jimmy Nevis.
That was a really good rendition of Elephant Shoes there. That was good.
Yeah, bro, I remember that song so well, bro. Yeah, it was like, I actually used to look in the mirror and like, does it really look like I'm saying I love you? I'm like, I love you.
You know what's crazy is
That's
that like I actually gigs and things are starting to pick up now again in the city, and I did a show on the weekend past, and I didn't plan to do Elephant Shoes in the set, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna throw it in, and I just started the LA, 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 and people just started singing with it. I was like, yo, and you know this
yeah.
song, 2012. You know, I think that's like it's a long time ago. So
We'll
yeah.
never forget, bro. We'll never forget it. I mean, good music is timeless because I can tell you now, I still listen to music from the 90s, and I don't feel like it's old. I'll still play that songs, Aaliyah music, all of that stuff. So if you're dropping something that's real, people will never forget that. So best believe they're always gonna appreciate Elephant Shoes because it is a dope song, man. And thank you for giving it to us.
Thank you so much.
Jimmy, good evening, brother, and how are you doing, man? How has 2021 been treating you?
I'm good, dude. I'm good. I got my wine. I am uh, very blessed. I'm super grateful. I am, uh, like many of us, last year was just such a big year in all different spheres of our lives. And I think I'm just grateful that I'm still able to do what I love. I've also been spending a lot more time with my family and, just really taking advantage of these spaces. Actually, right now, I'm in Worcester and I'm doing some writing sessions. I'm recording some new music this side. And even just things like this is, these type of relationships and contacts kind of came through lockdown. It's people that I haven't really worked with before, and it's just been so beautiful to come and venture this side. And so I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful, and I'm very happy to be here tonight, man.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thank you so much for making the time, actually, because what the guests don't know is that just before we started the show, Jimmy and I had like a quick conversation, and he actually told me that he's been so busy, and like he just mentioned now, the contacts have been coming through. He's not even at home right now.
Busy
And
with
so the
what?
comment on
Busy
your
with
bookshelf.
what? Honestly, like sometimes I'm like, you end up doing so much. I'm like, what did I even do? Honestly, but it's
Yeah.
also it's June, and that's also just like playing on my mind. I'm not here. I'm not here yet. I'm still trying to just catch up to that.
Oh, okay, okay. It's that you're that busy that you're not even aligned just yet, with the actual times what's happening right now. But yo, you made time for the price of fame, so I appreciate that. So thank you so much, man. I know my guests and not my guests, but my viewers will appreciate that truly also from you. Just a quick question before we dive into some real stuff. As a singer, do you guys, as a recording artist, and I mean, you've shared the stage with so many good people. People know you in the industry very well. Do you ever experience beef? Like the rappers experience beef, and then they come with their beef tracks. How do singers deal with beef? Is there if you experience beef like with singers? How do you deal with it? Do you write like a love song for you? You know what? I'm kidding.
I mean, honestly, like I've never subscribed to that type of like thing. I think over the years, people would create beef and they'd like try to make something out of nothing. I think that's actually how most beef starts in any case. So I think over the years, like I've been at parties and stuff, and then you hear stories, and then this person and that, and I've seen some stuff like in like a tabloid or two, but I mean that's just never been my style. It's not my
Yeah,
vibe. The only beef I like is on my burgers and my buns and whatever. So that's
yeah.
me.
Well, interesting. It's good to know that they actually, well, it's not good to know, but it's interesting to know that there is actually those kind of beef stir ups also with the musicians, you know. I thought it's mainly with rappers because it's always like a big thing with rappers. And then there's the diss track that follows. And after that, your career's somewhat done. Like, I don't get it. Why is your career done? Like, why can't you still have fans and all of that stuff? I don't
I think,
understand that
I
part
think
of it.
look, I mean, it's super hyped up, and I get it. In that side of the industry, you gotta be like ready to spit some,
Yeah,
you gotta be on point all the time. But I
yeah,
think, for me, there's so many different things, and especially now, I mean, with a lot of rappers are singing these days. Look at somebody like Drake. It's not about just being like one dimensional. Like he can put out a love song tomorrow, bro, and it's gonna be amazing. That thing's gonna rock. So I think it's like, I think beef is it's like such a old school thing, and uh, yeah,
well, I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad because it's just negative and it's stupid and like you say, sometimes it's a hype thing, you know, just to create some hype. And sometimes people actually don't really have beef with each other, you know. So why are they lying this? Why are they selling that picture to us? You know, why do
yeah.
we have to
You
into
know,
that?
the industry is also like, I've been in the industry now for almost 10 years. Like next year will be my 10th year in the industry, which is also like crazy. Um,
Yeah,
so for me, it's just I've seen so many things go down, and it's like, I get it, and I'm not gonna lie, now and then it's quite juicy, seeing what's happening and whatever. But for the
yeah,
most part, I kind of like stick to I stay in my lane, as much as I
yeah,
can. I stick with my pen. And I do, for me, this is like, it's so much more than like money and my career and stuff. And I know some of the questions we're going to dive into, I'll go deeper into that. But
yeah.
it's yeah, I think after like 9 years in the industry, you just know too much, like you've seen too much. There's so many sides to this story.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, let's dive into all of that. Right, let's take it back to the very, very young Jimmy Nevis. Let's take it back to when you started singing or started writing. How did it all start for you? Like, when did that spark hit you and you realize this is what I want to do? Can you take us, can you paint the picture of that moment, how old we were, where you were staying, all of that?
I mean, so I'm from Athlone, which is code 7764. And I,
Wait, is it the ATL? Yeah.
which is not Atlanta. I mean, it's Atlanta, but for me, it was always, that was Athlone. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's a dope
anyway,
track that you made about Athlone or so. Seven,
I will
seven. Oh, that was dope.
shut my
That's a
dude.
sorry if I get like if sorry if I act like a fan in between, you know, because I got your music on my phone, so
I honestly, when I think of this, just like, how it all started, and even just I was always singing from a young age already. And my parents, my dad especially, he was the guy that's like, come sing for your auntie and uncle, like that kind of thing. Like after every family gathering, I'm like busy
yes.
eating cake and stuff, and I'll come into the kitchen, just to come and
Yeah,
sing a song or whatever. But we also grew up in the church. Like that was a big part of my background. So I think, naturally, I was part of the praise and worship team. So was my sister. My sister's an incredible like keyboardist and singer as well. So she taught me a lot of the keys and stuff. And I think over the years, I then got very active in like just community events. I went to different music schools and stuff. And um, actually, for when the songwriting was quite interesting, because that actually developed in my Afrikaans classes, because I never used to actually take notes on my Afrikaans class. I was always writing, like just writing rhymes, and I had a whole book full of songs, and then I used to just like type it out and print it during break time or something, and then show it to like some of my friends or whatever. But I mean, it was, I think I always knew that like I was going to be involved in music. I just didn't believe fully in myself at the time that I'd be the person in front. I always thought I'd be the person at the back. I'd be behind the scenes. I'd be behind the camera. I'd be behind the producer. I'd be the songwriter. But I never quite envisioned, or I always dreamed about it, but I never thought that it would be like it would happen, especially so quickly. So the journey, from when it started, um, I think even in high school, like I was always producing. I used to download like crack versions of, I don't know if I should be saying this, but I used to download. I feel like, that's like your gateway to producing, like everybody's
Yeah.
done it. I'm not a
Yeah.
Fruit Loop guy, I'm sorry to all my Fruit Loops people out there. But I started out, I don't know if you know about like recording programs, but like I downloaded Audacity, which I think is like really funny. It's just like it's like the most simplest like thing you can get. And I
Yeah.
always like these crack versions, man. And I remember when I started recording, um, my voice would actually just fade in and out because of all this like illegal stuff. I shouldn't be saying any of this, but anyways. So
Fast.
so it's been an interesting journey, a lot of trial and error. Before I actually got my break, there was a lot of like, I feel like I learned, I won't say the hard way. I prefer it that way because I really got to um, work with different programs, get to understand. And I taught myself a lot of like, when it comes to production, and my own type of songwriting kind of came from just like a lot of hours and practice and honestly just trial and error.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And like with your music, like you said, your songwriting, as we might get a different version when we listen to you. When we listen to the songs, we might get a different version, but what you're actually truly trying to say, might be sometimes different. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like sometimes, for example, when I used to like bob my head to like these boom bap beats, and like, I feel like it's a dope track. But when I actually listen to the lyrics, I was like, oh, okay, it's a kind of different kind of message. But
Yeah.
the feel is different, when you listen, and sometimes when you're not taking note. So could you tell us a different, like the Jimmy Nevis that you actually putting into the music that you think that we're not probably getting?
Look, lyrics has always been like my number one thing. It's
Yeah.
how I grew up. I grew up listening to lyrics. So for me, and also like with my friends and stuff, like we listen to a very wide variety of music. Like, yeah, I was listening to hip hop, I was listening to pop, I listened to a lot of gospel, but I mean, your James Morrison. I loved James Morrison. You know that you give me something that makes me scared, all right. Like all of those songs, Natasha Bedingfield. And so I ended up, I didn't realize it at the time, but I think I was listening to a lot of like really great quirky songwriters, and I guess they kind of shaped a lot of like the way that I write now. But if anything, that I I always want people to listen to the music. And even when I remember when my songs first started playing on radio, I always used to listen, not to really hear my song, but I wanted to hear what the DJ is going to say. Like what's he going to say about my song? Because, at the time, I think 2012 radio was still like, it was still pinnacle. We didn't have streaming services back like in 2012, which is also crazy. But I remember listening, and just they would always say like, what does elephant shoes mean? What does hotboxing mean? What
Yeah.
does like what does this mean? And I always used to think like, just go Google it, bruh. Like just listen to
Yeah.
the word. It's actually all there in front of you. So for my fans and for people who are listening to my music, I'm always like, my goal is just for them to like just dig a little bit deeper, just give it an extra second of your time. Like just think a little bit more, because there is so many layers behind the 3 minutes that everybody hears when they just play that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. And so, quick question: are you an independent artist or you signed to a record label?
So at the moment, I am signed to an independent. I'm independent, and I'm
Yeah.
signed to an independent group who handle like distribution and licensing. And yeah, it's been an interesting journey. Even with that, like I work. I'm with Gallo at the moment. And in the past, I've been with David Gresham Records. In Cape Town, I was linked with Rude World Records. Um, and so, yeah, I've experienced many sides of the coin because there are more than two.
Yeah.
And what I will say is, it's been great, especially being independent comes with a lot of hard work. It's a lot of like putting yourself out there. It's a lot of like taking on expenses and putting a lot of like money into your own projects. Um, but it's also so rewarding to have creative control and really like control your brand and your message. And that's, I think, to a lot of creatives nowadays, that's the number one thing.
That was actually going to be my next question to that because I know with independence you have more like creative freedom, and you said that you like to write what you're feeling, no, right? You write what who you
Yeah.
are. I know sometimes when you sign to a record label, they kind of like fix you in a box. They're like, no, we want you to sound like this, we want you to look this way, and all of that stuff. And you're like, but this is who I truly am. So that's why I actually asked, did you ever have one of those moments or those songs where you felt like, oh my word, you did this in this way, and the people perceive it that way, but the real Jimmy is not feeling that vibe, you know? Are there any songs that you actually look back and you'd be like, you know what? I probably wish I didn't do that. Or do you feel like, yo, I've actually grown just from that? Maybe not, I wish I didn't do that, or just like, yo, I've grown so much, yo. What was I thinking when I wrote that
Well,
song?
I definitely do have some songs that I'm like, you know what, maybe I didn't have to lean in to this as much, but everything has a purpose. And like it's honestly like, I mean, there are I won't mention the songs, but they are
Yeah,
definitely, I have like more than five, that are just that you'll notice I never
yeah.
sing them in my sets, and I'm probably never gonna sing them in my sets because I don't know what I was going through during that time. But
I think
you know, at the end of the day, I'm somebody that does live in the moment, especially when it comes to my music. And if anything, I'm glad that I'm able to be true to myself. And even if it's not the most timeless tracks, sometimes here and there, I think being able to do the creative process is what makes timeless artists. Like when you get to put yourself out there in different ways, you learn so much. And yeah, but definitely there's a couple.
it's funny, it's funny because I know, like, I mean, with me as a comedian, there's some jokes that I throw away when I was like, I don't know why I wrote that. Some jokes I didn't even make it to the stage, and I was like, wait, no. Oh man, Jimmy. All right, so let's take it back to, your area where you grew up, and you've mentioned that your family actually supported, from a young age, they've always been pushing you to perform and just actually just take pride in your. So I'm sure your family was very supportive, but like, how was your community, growing up in Athlone? Which part of Athlone exactly, to be specific, which part of Athlone did you grow up in, and how was the challenges, I mean, like, was it easy for you to be who you are and sing and do all of that stuff? Or did you have some challenges like gangsterism, drugs, and all of those things going around and really kind of like,
For starters, I will just say that um, even though I got amazing support from my parents, I think generally creatives have to really push to prove themselves, as in, this is a career, I can make money from this. It's not the end of the world if I go and study fine art and music and whatever. And I think, especially, from my type of community, that may not always be a priority. And I think I'm very grateful that I, number one, persuaded my parents to study, because I first had to get them on board and be like, I want to study music. But then I didn't get into music in any case. So I don't even know why we went through all of that. But I think once my career started, like really pushing, and it happened quite quickly for me. So I think it was really great to see, like, not only my community, but I think also just Cape Town really support me in a way that was so necessary for me, because I didn't know um, half of the things that I know now. I think Twitter was like the main social media thing at the time, and I didn't have any social media. I was kind of just like out here. I just started a Facebook page. And so I was still learning a lot, and I kind of, as the as I met with people, and I grew up quite, in a spiritual home, so I wasn't really exposed to clubs or certain parties or that kind of thing. And I am, to this day, I'm pretty much a teacher's pet kind of guy. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a saint. Like, when it comes to certain things, I'm just naturally, I've always enjoyed, like,
Yeah.
taking it easy, like, um but I think even still, growing up in an area like Athlone, and also my family being quite, uh, we all for the community, and especially my parents, my dad, my mom, they were youth leaders before my dad was a pastor. So young people and the people of Athlone have always been a big part of our home, staying
Yeah.
over, you know, studying at our place. Our house was our When we eventually got a swimming pool at our house, you better believe that was the community swimming pool. I mean, I used to get so angry. Actually, I'm not gonna. My bedroom was right next door, man. So I used to like wake up, and it's like, I'm not even joking. There's like 30 children like in our yard, and I'm like, I'm like, how is this happening? But that's my parents' heart, and I think, when I look back, I'm very grateful that I wasn't somebody that got distracted by drugs and alcoholism and that kind of thing, where when it's so easy. And I also think, aside from being raised by my parents and in a good home, I also will say that um, I always thought of music as my way out for everything. It was always gonna be a way out for me. I was always gonna be a way to get a better life. That's how I always thought of it. For me, music was always gonna be the first step to bigger and brighter things. And so when I used to pray at night, I was always praying for this opportunity. I was always praying for, like, when I was not going out, I was always producing, I was always making music. I was always, because I knew that this was going to be the thing that takes me out of whatever, it's going to set me apart. And yeah, I'm so grateful to God that it actually happened. Um, but yeah, I don't know if I even answered your question there, but yeah.
It's okay because I love where you took it now. Now,
Mm.
um, with let's get into like in the beginning when it all hit for you was, um, I think according to my knowledge, the first time I heard of Jimmy Nevis was Elephant Shoes.
Yeah.
That's obviously you've been doing a lot and you've been writing before then. When was it actually for you when you actually stepped into the industry and like got like your first music out there? Was it with Elephant Shoes? Because I don't think you ever went down from Elephant Shoes because it just kept on climbing. Because we were like you were kind of like the new kid on the block.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
did it Elephant Shoes for you in terms of like taking yourself serious, or were you doing things before that and failing?
So Elephant Shoes was my last straw, actually. Elephant
Oh,
Shoes was my, if this doesn't work, then I know for sure it's not meant to be, kind of thing. So I was like, I was making music and doing like semi-involved, like wherever I could. I was also quite forward when I think about it. Like, I used to like record these songs and do like sessions and just like lam with people, and set up job shadowing experiences. I remember job shadowing Chad Simon when I was in grade 11. And years later, when I became Jimmy Nevis, I was like, yo, bruh, that was me. That was actually, I'll never forget that session. It was like
Yeah.
gold. I learned so much just being in their presence and seeing how they work. And Mr. Mullen was there, and Lloyd Jansen, and those guys. They were like, that was like one of my first times really getting to see um, how professionals kind of like do things, you know. Um, but yeah, I think that there's elephant shoes when I was in my second year of varsity. And at this stage, I didn't get in for music at varsity. I didn't get in for music in high school either, by the way. I was always, because I can play by ear, but that my sight reading was just horrible. So I
Yeah.
understood it in terms of academics and things, but I mean, for me at that time, when you're that young, you kind of like, if I'm not studying it, then clearly that's not what I'm going to be in life. That's the way I used to think. I was like, oh wow, this is it. And I mean, I was doing a lot of things. I was doing sessions with some other DJs. I was I was doing a tribute show at the Roxy Review Bar at Grand West, wearing ruffled shirts, pretending to be Prince and Earth, Wind and Fire and Jackson 5 with an afro, singing like 4 nights a week while I was studying. Like this is the stuff I was doing, like trying to just stay busy in like music
Yeah.
outside of my studies. And I was writing songs, I was trying to send songs, and you know, doing. I think a lot of guys, you end up doing your own research. Nobody really like tells you. There's not really. I mean, there's a lot more information today, but at the time, I remember my parents actually bought me this book that's literally called "How to Make It in the South African Music Industry," and it's a book I recommend to everybody. It's. I think I have a PDF. I must actually put it up somewhere, but you can get it on the internet. I think even for
Yeah.
free. Um,
Drop the link down in the comments.
No, it's an amazing book. It may maybe a little be a little outdated now, but I mean the fundamentals are really much all in there in terms of publishing, Samro, understanding how the industry works. Anyways,
Yes.
so Elephant Shoes. I remember I wrote the song and I had it was playing it on piano, and two of my friends were just loving at my house like casually like they normally do. And I was like, oh, can I play you the song? And I played it and sang it. And then afterwards, they looked at me and they were like, can you play it again? And I was like, oh, okay. So I played it again and whatever, whatever. And then they were like, can you play it like another time? And then that was the first time that I kind of saw that response happening, especially with like my homies. And I was like, okay, this must be something, or it must. And my friend and I, we went to go, uh, we got some CDs at Pick and Pay. I wrote about myself in third person, like, yo, Jimmy Nevis is this new guy. You got to check him out, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And popped the CD with that written piece. And we went to go mail it out to all the radio stations in Cape Town, got their addresses on Google, and we just dropped it off. We were like, go check out Jimmy Nevis, go check out Jimmy Nevis. And I was at varsity 2 weeks later, and I got a call from KFM, and they're like, yo, we're going to play your song just so you know, like, and I was like, what? You lying? But I still ditched all my classes that day. I went home immediately to go and prep like a press release. And at the time, I was still I was freelancing as a journalist as well. So I was like trying to organize somebody to write a review about me and like all of this scheming and plotting and stuff. So it was crazy, but all of that happened quite quickly. I was also sending it out to like 5FM national radio stations, trying to get coverage and stuff. And I think it was maybe like 2 weeks after the song was playing on radio. I don't, to this day, I don't know how, but like people were calling my house phone. And I don't know how they got my house number. Like I didn't like
Okay.
how did they get my house number? Like I pick up the house phone because we still had house phones at that time.
Yes.
And like I'm like, hello, and they're like, hi, can we please speak to Jimmy Nevis? Like this is David Gresham Records in Joburg, whatever. I'm like, where did you even get this number, man? Like, and I mean, the rest is kind of history, but that song definitely was my big break. And I then signed with Rural Records. I signed with David Gresham. And I think 2 months after that, we put out Hotboxing, which was actually, I was busy writing a assignment about the 27s Club, all the people who died at 27, famous people. And I think Amy Winehouse just joined at that time. And I remember, like, while I was writing this assignment, I was writing this song called Relapse, which would then become Hotboxing. And I remember we put it out on the radio a few months later. It did nothing, like, didn't chart, did absolute nothing. We were actually strategizing again to, like, okay, move on, what's next? And then the music video came out, and then it was like, then it just was like out of our hands. And yeah, a couple of months after that, I put out my first album, like, while I was writing exams and doing varsity and things. It was just a crazy time. But when I think of it now, it's like, it's just that, that hunger and that, uh, just, I was so hungry for it. I was willing to give everything that I had for it. And we did. It wasn't just me, it was the entire team. It was the people that I was working with. Everybody gave a little bit extra to try and make something from nothing. And it worked. Yeah.
Interesting to actually know, like you've mentioned, that you actually didn't study music, you didn't get into music. So throughout this time, music was actually like your sideline thing, but you were actually, but it was your passion. And you had to push even 10 times harder now, because you're not just, you're not being taught about it. You have to now teach yourself. That's where you got the book, and that's where you started hustling and pushing here and getting, like, learning your journalism skills and incorporating that everything. That sounds very interesting, and it's good to know, like, how you actually pushed through, and, like, you literally climbed that mountain, and just for you, like,
Sometimes I think sometimes, when you so you can almost be like blinded by hunger, because it's just, it pushes through, it gives you super strength. Sometimes it can even seem out of character, the things that a person will do. And I mean, I do think that that's also God and, like, alignment, and being ready and prepared for, like, an opportunity. um
yeah,
yeah, crazy.
yeah, dope, man. Any mentors along the way that you feel like has came and, like you said, you spent some time with Chad, but that was like in your early ages, in the
Yeah,
early stage of your music. But, like, was
so many.
actually helping you? Was there anyone, like, truly mentoring you along the way, or have you ever mentored anyone for a short period or whatever?
Yeah, so when I started, I mean, I've had many mentors along the way, but I think somebody who was really impactful for me was Jay something from Mikasa. And I was actually doing, like, I was touring with them, uh with their shows. They just launched their second album, and I was featured on the album. So I came along with for the tour, and I became uh, friends with the band, and it was my first time, like, doing this kind of thing. And their music also reaches a completely different market, than mine, especially at the time. I had never really performed in, like, townships before, and it was just so incredible to, like, be in the space with them when they were dominating. And it was just like, I learned so much directly from all of them. And I think, even with Jay, I remember he was so transparent and open with me. Even one time, he even told me, he was like, whatever contacts you need, just let me know. Like, I'll set it up. You can use all of them. Like, he was so genuine and sincere. And I mean, I also think that's why, they are such a great success, because I feel like they resonate, like, sincerity. And what they do is not just about them. They do it for the love of the music and to inspire people. um but yeah, so I think Jay was quite a big deal for me, like, when I started, and especially getting somebody who can, like, really believes, because, like, I mean, at the time, I was also, like, I was the guy who was, like, wearing pajama pants and flip-flops, like, outside, because I was like, I'm like a student as well. So for me, I was like, I knew all the half price specials. Like, that was like my life. And then all of a sudden, you, like, being escorted out the kitchen of a club, and you go out with people and like they think you have money, and I was like, I don't have money, guys. Like, I don't have. At the time, I was just, we were still faking it till you make it. The money thing only came like a year later. But I remember just like learning so much from not only Jay, but even the people at Rude World, the guys that I worked with. Um, and for a lot of it, we were also just kind of making our own rules. There was a lot of times we were just like, you know what, we're just going to make our own rules. We don't actually know fully what we're doing. But it helped that there were people that just believed in me. And yeah, I hope I haven't fully mentored somebody in the way that I really want to just yet. But I really hope to do that actually quite soon, because I feel like I have a lot that I can, pass on. I have a lot of experience that I can help other musicians with. And I'd love to actually do that. I think it's important that we create more spaces for like good conversation where we can just be real and talk about the real challenges that are within this industry, especially if you're talking longevity. Like, everyone's got a story, everyone's got challenges. And the truth is that you don't stop getting challenges. You don't that never ends. It's just the way you deal with it. And I do think having people in your corner, having that type of support system, it plays a big part in making it through.
Yeah. And like speaking about challenges and all like sacrifices, can you like share with us some of your challenges that you felt like, wow, that's something that really could have changed your life, or something that changed your life for the better? Could be something really difficult or whatever. Any moment where you felt like, you know what, I just need some time for myself now. I can't be for the world, or I can't be for anyone else.
Yeah, like
And
all the time, every year.
yeah,
Every year, I'm like, it's my last year being Jimmy Nevis. Like, but I'm like, also, it's just because I'm somebody that does feel I give a lot to my career and my music. And um, you know, without fail, every year at some point, especially before I'm working on an album, I get really like in my head. And it's sometimes there's a lot of voices. There's a lot of people that you want to please, whether it be like the label, whether it be your fans, whether it be certain parts of yourself, and things that you want to put out there, your own artistry, your creativity. um but yeah, I think I'm very grateful that with every challenge there's also been incredible lessons. There's been amazing triumphs, and for me, that's what I hold on to. All of these lessons hold for greater motivation. uh anytime I'm feeling like, oh, what am I actually doing? And am I on the right track here? What is, and especially as I'm getting older now, I think 9 years in this industry, for me, what I put out is really important. Actually now more than ever, like, it's really important for me to not just put out things for the sake of it, but to
yeah,
really put stuff that means something to me and something that's going to contribute. I want to add value. And yeah, I think that, like I said earlier on, I don't think you ever stop getting challenges. I think that goes for all of us, no matter what you do in your life. There's always going to be a new challenge, there's always going to be more hurdles. But I think that the way you handle them really determines um, how successful you become. Um, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Dope, man. And like, yeah, like I know, like you said, every year, you have that moment where you're like, you know what, this is it,
every,
whatever.
every year there's always a liquor, like there's always something. And over the past few years, it's been such a wide variety of reasons. I've also lost a lot of friends in this industry, because when you win in a creative industry, creatives generally are people that give a lot. You put a lot of time and effort, and a lot of like convincing and proving and uh, getting people on your team to believe in your product and what you have to say. And yeah, I think, over the years, there's been certain moments that easily could have put me off, and that, made me feel like maybe, I'm not strong enough for this, or maybe this isn't actually who I am, or maybe
Yeah.
it's not worth it. But I also have come to understand that, like, sometimes fulfilling your purpose is messy. It's not
Yeah.
always.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not always supposed to look so clean and full of triumph. There's a lot of mess, there's a lot of dirt. And I think
Purging.
over over the past few years, I've just learned to, like, really embrace that. And I'm still learning to this day. It's something I have to continuously relearn sometimes, just to embrace that this is what success looks like. It comes with hard times. This is me making it. This is me doing it. I'm still doing it. If you're still doing it, and you still have a passion for it, then you're still in it. Um, and with every year where there's that one moment of me thinking, like, let me go do something else. Let me go leave this shit. There's also
Yeah.
incredible moments of, like, oh my God, I love this so much. This is my calling. I remember why I do this. I will give everything I have for this. And nothing, I mean, I feel so privileged, that I was able to really dive into my purpose, or dive into a form of expression that not only came with privilege of getting paid to do what I love, but also it's been a big part of my self-expression, my growth as an adult, as a young man, as a person who wants to do more, who wants to learn more. Like, it's art imitating life. That's always, or life imitating art. I still don't know which one is which, but that's literally been my entire life, and I'm so blessed that I got chosen to do that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And if you weren't a singer, if you like, what do you feel like something else that you also dream about? You'd be like, I could see myself as an actor, or I could see myself as, I don't know,
Oh,
is there something else that you think that you would have been if you weren't a singer, or something that you wish you could actually pursue as well? Like you could split yourself in two and be like, I just want to excel in this and excel in this as well.
look, I mean, I think I I love creation. So I think generally entrepreneurship is something that I do excel in, and it's something that is a big part of my life now already. But I actually wanted to go into architecture um, before before the guidance counselor at my school was like, all your test scores are saying you have to go into performing arts. And I was like, nope, I don't want to go into performing arts. I'm an architect, because all my friends were doing that. And I also did a subject at school that, like, leaned heavy into, like, engineering, graphics and design and that kind of stuff. So I think for me, I've always had a love for uh, like architecture in general, and also just it's something that I really just have a hobby about. It's something that I interact with. So I think that would definitely be something. And you never know. You never know. I could actually end up still doing that. Um, but I have a degree in sociology. So I guess that also would have played a part
Yeah.
in, at some point. I do think in some ways that it has played a small role in my life thus far. But I think yeah, but definitely not acting. Like, acting is something that in my head, I believe I can be a great actor. Like, I'm one of those people that, like, act in your head, and then you think you're doing things, like, in real life, but it's not coming out. Like, it's not being, even
Yeah.
when I dance in my head. Like,
Yeah.
I'm doing stuff, and it just
Yeah.
doesn't come
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
in my arms and my legs. So, like,
Yeah. That's what I want to play with. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
like, I mean, maybe
That's I'm with singing, bro. I sing amazing in my head. People love me. But yeah, hey, brother.
that's it's one of those things, man. So, like, I don't know. I think there's these days I'm also actually, one of the perks of getting to do something that has some type of celebrity or public perspective, public eye, forum means that you are able to kind of like exist in more than one space. And so I am excited to see, where I'll, other spaces that I will find myself in, because I'm somebody that loves to learn. I enjoy new challenges. And I think for a while, in the past, I've had a clothing line. I currently have a foundation called the Blue Collar Foundation, and I've had my hand in many different other projects over the years. So, you know, and I think a lot of, again, I will always speak on behalf of creatives because I know like what it's like. We can do a lot of different things, um, and yeah, so we'll see what happens. But architecture, to answer your question, sorry, I haven't done this in a while, so I'm talking a lot. I know, I'm sorry.
No, trust me, I love it. This is what I wanted. This is what we're looking for. We're looking for the version just chilled and telling everything. So, and actually, I've learned so much now about that, what your interests are and what you're actually skilled in. Actually, you're not just a singer. You're actually you're a hustler and you're business-minded entrepreneur. And you've got some skill, to like be like, just dust off your skill and be like, you know what, I can actually do this as well. But let's just chill for now because I'm actually having fun. Jimmy.
Look, yeah.
Yeah, you want to say something?
No, actually, I was just saying that, yeah, it's so good to actually just talk about these things. And I think that there's a lot more. I have a lot of friends who, I think during the pandemic, all of my creative brothers and sisters who have maybe had to switch it up because of like opportunities and that kind of thing. But it's so good to have these type of conversations just to inspire people, and just especially people who've had to make some serious changes during this pandemic and stuff, and be like, you can still put some, like, we got your back. We are having these conversations. We want to be part. We want to create the dialogue. So I just think it's really dope, man.
No, thank you, man. And I appreciate that because, I mean, you get the reason why I'm trying to get through this thing. And thank you for coming on and sharing your story because I've gotten really inspired and it really opened my mind to how you see things and how you just carry on, and how your journey was. And I'm sure a lot of people appreciate it too. But it brings me to my final question now. I hate coming to this because it always gets so juicy, then you got to end it. Also, I don't want to keep you from your creative space and your creativity. But my question I have to know is that, Jimmy, having walking the journey that you've walked now and the person that you've become today, with all this wisdom and like you mentioned earlier, you have so much more to give and to teach, and just to pass on, just in the name of love and music. What would you do if I put you in a time machine to go back to the very, very young Jimmy Nevis, who started out, who didn't know what's the journey going to look like? You're just trying your thing out here, in it, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You have a moment to give him a little bit of advice. What would that advice be?
Yeah, there's so many. Yeah. I think, don't take life too seriously. Especially music, I think I was always very, especially once I was into it, I was like, everything needs to be perfect. I have to get this right. And actually, that's not real life. And that sometimes we can block our own creativity, or sometimes we overthink things, and you can actually, you miss the magic, So I would say, don't overthink too much. Don't try to control too much. Kind of just go with the flow. Also, young Jimmy, stay away from the tuck shop. Like, come now. Also, yeah, just don't forget to have fun in every situation. I think there's so much beauty in everything if you really want to. If you really come with the right mindset, and you're looking for beauty, you'll find beauty. And I think over the years there's been many, for all of us, no matter what you do, there's always going to be something that tries to block your blessing, or something that rubs you the wrong way, or something that gets taken from you, or and I don't let those things rob you of the blessing of your talents and your gifts and what you have to offer and what you have to share. you know it's only temporary, and what you have is so much bigger and so much bolder and has so much more value. So, yeah, that's what I would say. Mm.